So, people, Young Female Playwright. This is a film by Pony. Oh, where are we? Pony Nicole Herauf. It is written by Ellie Moon. Right, the film is produced by Macaulay Cassidy. Ben Roberts and Sarah Alma Angel. It is executive produced by Ellie Barlin Daniels, Jonas Chernick, Pony Nicole Herauf, and Ellie Moon. Associate produced by Julian Dezotti and Andrea M. Scott. Ben Roberts also takes care of the cinematography. Mina Sewall Mancuso was on editing duties. All right, art direction, we have Abigail Chevalier. Costume design is Gillian Bolger. Hair and makeup, we've got Jessica Morgan. I feel that's the majority of things, right? Boom, 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 boom. Okay, who else do we have? Drew Berry and Max Parr put together the poster for Salience, right? They play within the movie. So, they took care of that. Now, the gist of things, right? What is this all about, you may ask? Well, I need to shrink. Okay, when 26-year-old Millie lands a career-making debut at Canada's National Theatre, celebration quickly turns to scrutiny after a press release describes her play as a deeply personal story. Certain her dark family drama is a work of fiction, Millie is blindsided as those around her begin to read it as confession, especially her Uncle Mark, a school teacher and recovered alcoholic. Through bright lights and dark comedy, Young Female Playwright interrogates who gets to tell which stories, what it costs a woman to be believed. So, yes, that is the gist of things. Now, we do have, we've actually got two. We've got a director's statement and a writer's statement, which we don't always get, right? So that's great. So the director's statement, right, from Pony Nicole Herauf, it is, I grew up immersed in the world of theatre, sitting quietly in rehearsal halls while big men discussed plays I prayed I would understand when I was older. Those hours shaped how I understood power, performance, and a person's right to speak. And now I think I understand. I am honored to have directed Young Female Playwright as my debut feature film. Ellie Moon's script is razor sharp, balancing intellect with unspeakable dread, and I sought to meet it by creating a world that feels both dangerous and bright. I was heavily influenced by the performance-driven precision of Mike Nichols' late 1980s work and by the nightmarish, heightened sensibility of John Kazafi's opening night, this film embraces humor, anxiety, and glamour. My hope is for audiences to argue about it long after they've left the theatre. So that's Pony's statement. Now, Ellie Moon's statement, as the writer reads, the poet Mary Oliver gave an interview shortly before her death in which she called her collection dream work, perfect autobiography, but stated that she had no understanding of that at the time. She did not realize the personal nature of the poems until many years later. The truth came to her first as fiction. This is a phenomenon in writing that many writers describe, and one that is difficult to balance in a world where artists are often asked to frame their art within their own experience, particularly artists from unrepresented communities. Young Female Playwright looks at the question of who gets to tell which stories and explores the ways that telling a story may reshape our understanding of the events that inspired it. Our team is incredibly proud to have made this film at a time when gender equality in Canadian film is not expected until 2215 at the current pace of progress. Interesting. Right, so yeah, this is oh, my bad. I didn't go through the cast, did I? Okay, so yeah, Ellie Moon, she writes it, she's producing, she's also starring as Millie Morsi, right? Her uncle Mark is played by Jonas Chernick. We've got her mother Miranda, played by Claudia Dey. Her dad Martin is played by Rick Roberts. We have got her roommate Rox, played by Karen Knox. There is Curtis Cameron, right? Her boss, essentially, played by Raul Banija. Then there is Dorian, he's assistant, played by Rodrigo Fernandez-Stoll. There is Shelby, played by Alison Dion. We have got Zoe, who is Dorian's assistant, and then she's in the play, right? She's played by Sarah Alma Angel. We have got who else? There is D.S. Richardson, played by Colin Mockery. We have got Devon, played by Jake Eastcott. We got Ted, played by Gord Rand. There's the literary agent, played by Doris Rajan. Officer Jones, played by Evan Bulling. Mandy, played by Lee Rose Sebastiantis. And Nico G, played by Francis Melling. All right, so yeah, this I think this is an interesting piece, right? Now we open up with this kind of dance number, which you know, like we have like a group of women come out in leotards, black leotards, and then we've got Millie coming out with them, and like this isn't addressed within the film itself. I do wonder if it is like kind of like, you know, saying women are on display. You know what I mean? They're looked at as being performative. I'm not quite sure, right? But that's my kind of interpretation of that. But then we go into the play, and we've got, right, Curtis, right? He's talking up Millie. And, you know, it's like, oh, we're so proud and everything. And it's funny because at the beginning, right, everyone was like, oh, this is incredible. She's so talented. We're so proud to be with her, to work with her, to hear from her. But it's kind of like as soon as, you know, the piece is announced, then suddenly everything changes, right? You've got like the comments that come, which I do like how the comments are portrayed. There's a lot of times we just see someone looking at their phone, and then, you know, the text bubbles and everything appear and all of that. But here we have people appear, and the people are like representing the writers of the comment, and so read the comment, which I thought, I like that, right? Especially it means I don't have to try and squint and see some tiny ass little thing, right? So I thought that was good. And we get that all the way through, you know? So we have these comments, and people are just like, why is this woman telling this story? And, you know, why is she allowed to tell this story? And blah, 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 blah. Which is always, it's like, I mean, we see it all the time, right? And it's always an interesting one. I think especially when it's like, you're making assumptions before you know anything. You know what I mean? Like, how many times have we seen that? Right? And people go, oh, this is going to be... And it's just like, wait, all you've got is a title. Right? We don't know who's in it, like how it's the story's framed or anything. But we're making these kind of snap judgments, which is bonkers. So we have all of this, and that seems to be the dominoes effect right here. And we just see all of this fallout, which is crazy, right? It's crazy. And it's funny because when you're watching it in a film, you're like, oh man, this is so bonkers. But it's just like, this happens all the time in real life, right? But I think sometimes, although it does always feel crazy when we see it in real life, but I think that's a lot of the time over days and weeks. So when you see it truncated in such a short period of time, it's even more jarring. It's just like, your boy, right? And we get, I think one big thing about this, it's like communication. And communication with so many things is key, right? And we see, instead of asking things or being like, oh, you know, does this read well? Or, but, you know, we get people making crazy statements and pivots and adjustments when you're just like, yo, that's kind of making things worse. Or shouldn't you ask someone what the story is before then you say it's deeply personal, or things like this, you know? And it's like there's certain things that you do kind of think Millie's naive going into, right? Like anything with a reporter, right? Anything with a reporter, I feel you always need to be asking, can I see the final thing before it's posted, right? Or I would like to have, some editorial on this, right? Just to make sure that craziness isn't written. Because, I think when people are writing things, oftentimes you do embellish, you do add things that weren't necessarily said, right? So we have all of these things like spiraling out of control. And from, the beginning, where we have, all the praise and we love working with Millie and blah, 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 it's now a different thing, a completely different thing, which is very interesting, right? Very interesting, right? The exploration of what actually happened, I think, is true. And it's kind of like this. I feel it came out this year, right? I think it's the beginning of this year here. No, it was the end of last year, right? After The Hunt, the Nicole. Oh no, it was Julia Roberts, wasn't it? Yes, Julia Roberts, Ayo Edidori, Robert Pattinson, I want to say, that film, which was going, oh, did this thing really happen? Right? And I think that one was felt a bit muddled, right? On what I felt it was trying to say and how it kind of went forward with the things. But with this, it's like the thing that was said, does it happen? Right? And we have that exploration, and we have, the way it's handled by everyone, right? Like supposed friends and family, the way they're reacting to the person who, is kind of taking super umbrage at it all. And I think you get to a point where you're like, okay, so at what point was the truth actually known? Right? Was the truth always known? But, you know what I mean? It's like damaging and embarrassing and shameful that you're trying to squash it down. Like, what is all of this? So there's a lot of kind of things I think to look at and explore and run with, and I do think it kind of really does pinpoint that thing of how do we handle these things, right? How do we, I guess, treat people involved in these situations? Because it's always you are innocent until proven guilty. But it's never you're innocent until proven guilty when it comes to certain things, right? Because people get sacked without even a case being, completely explored. Like, people lose their jobs. And even when it's found that actually the person did nothing, too much has happened now, right? The retraction is never as big news as the initial allegation or supposed allegation, right? So I think all of these things are here for us to ponder, here for us to look at, right? I guess you can question, how would you deal with this situation, right? Like, how would you deal with that? If you were Millie, how would you handle all of this kind of thing? You know? Like, do you treat people differently after something like this? Right? There is a lot to explore and think about. You know what I mean? Which is, yeah, I think that's the beauty of films, right? And stories like this, because there is a lot to think about. There is a lot to ponder, right? And I guess there's so many ways to look at it. You know what I mean? There's so many different ways. You don't actually know. You can make assumptions, right? You can go, oh, I think this is it. I think the film is trying to say this or trying to say that. But you don't actually know, right? The only people that know are the ones that created it. You know, so it's just like having the ability to talk to them, to ask them the questions. That is always such a huge blessing. So, yeah. So a lot to ponder with this film. And I think, you know, we do get some very interesting performances, right? So Ellie, I think there's a lot of doubt and anxiety, right? At the beginning, there's a lot of pride and happiness, but that soon falls away, and we get that kind of shadow of how we first see her, right? And I think that is portrayed well. You know, we definitely get that, right? With Curtis, you clearly have someone who is walking this line, right? Is all. It's funny because you kind of get Curtis as like a vampire, right? At the beginning, he is happy to soak up all of that positive energy, right, of this young talent. But then it's kind of like she becomes the sun, and it's like pulling away, like, I cannot be around this person, right? Which is crazy. His assistant Dorian, you feel there is a lot of resentment, right? Of like, how is this person trying to assert me, right? Because it's always someone is taking shots at you for being talented, right? Rather than welcoming people. It's a thing of kicking down the ladder rather than, you know, offering a hand up. So we get these different things, you know, like Devon, the author. You know, again, it's that, well, I'm the only talented one. So I've got to try and denigrate your success and what you're doing to make myself look bigger. You know, it's, oh man, the roommate rocks. That's a crazy one. That's a real kind of, it feels like a very toxic situation. And all of these characters are really well brought to life by the cast. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's interesting, it's compelling. You are kind of really caught up in like this whole web of intrigue, and you're just waiting to find out, okay, how is this going to get resolved? Right? Like, how do you walk back from a situation like this? You know what I mean? That is the big thing. That's the thing that you're like, whoa, you know what I mean? What is gonna happen now? Which is just fascinating. So yeah, people, definitely. Well, I would definitely say if you enjoyed After the Hunt, I feel you will definitely enjoy this, because I do feel this, for me, it was a stronger film, right? It's a stronger film exploring a very similar theme and topic. So yes, I would definitely say that. But yeah, if you like a complex drama, then Young Female Playwright is most definitely the film for you. So all the links will be on the webpage of this episode, so you'll be able to find out how you can watch the joint, and I recommend that you do. Okay, so that is Young Female Playwright.